It's a challenging time to be a teacher. We don't get paid a lot, the days can be long and exhausting, demands from students, parents, admins, and districts can be intense. There's always room for improvement and there is always more to do. There are always new procedures to learn, new programs to run, new strategies to master. But it's when our fire burns the lowest that we remember our purpose. We teach because we're resilient. We teach because we're problem solvers. We teach because investing in kids is one of the highest callings we can imagine. We teach because we know that the classroom can be a place of magic and possibility. We teach because we have an unquenchable fire for learning and a passion to share it. We teach because our colleagues are some of the best human beings we will ever meet. We teach because we have an opportunity to influence the global citizens that will make this world a better place. If you're still on fire for learning and growth, join the Teachers on Fire Roundtable for conversations that will warm your heart, spark your thinking, and ignite your practice. You'll hear from real people and real educators with real solutions, not make-believe perfection, but ideas, inspiration, and a path toward change and transformation in K-12 education today. My name is Tim Cavey. I'm an 8th grade teacher, assistant principal, and the host of the Teachers on Fire podcast. I'm inviting you to join us at the Teachers on Fire Roundtable. Because you matter, your voice is important, and we are all better together. All right, welcome, Teachers on Fire, to another conversation that will warm your heart, spark your thinking, and ignite your professional practice. Whoops, had to leave that graphic up, but we are ready to go now. I've got in studio with me this morning JON CORIPPO. I am so excited to get into conversation with him about EduProtocols, and this is a word that I've heard around quite a bit. And it's something that I know I need to learn a lot more about. JON is an educator, presenter, professional learning junkie, and co-author of the EduProtocol Field Guide Books 1 and 2. JON, welcome to the show this morning. How are you feeling?
I am teacher tired today, Tim. I am teacher tired. I had a road swing and went through 3 different districts this week, and the first district that I worked with on Monday, I want you to think about this for a second. They brought me kids to work with, like live human children with their teacher, and they said, "Hey, do some some Edge protocols," and they brought me kids in groups of almost 100. So yeah,
Wow.
like 83 second graders rolling into the class. And then not only did I have to teach them, it was a demo lesson with like the assistant soup and 5 other teachers watching. And luckily for me, the protocols work every time. It was really cool to see 83 second graders in Blooket learning about states of matter. And then we just did a good old sketch and tell on paper afterwards about what's your favorite state of matter. And it's pretty cute when a second grader looks you in the eye and says, "My favorite state of matter is a frappuccino."
That is
So
awesome. Well,
it was
I,
it
I
was a week.
it was a week. I saw the business about Blooket on your TikTok, and I look forward to getting into that. Actually, I've got a question for you on
Oh,
that. But
I
first of
love
all,
the questions you've got lined up for today. I love them.
awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us for this conversation. If you are here live, and I see a few friends here, I want to say hello to you. Let us know where you are watching from. We've got Kim ready to hear from the master. Abby says, "I'm here for it."
Hi,
And
Kim and Abby.
Kim's going to add in, he's the best mentor ever. So that's great.
Aw.
Some great reviews from some friends that we know and we've seen around.
Well, I'll give
All
you a
right,
little insider information, Tim.
do it.
Kim's getting ready to drop the next Edge of Protocols book.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, and as a building leader, I think you'll be excited to know that it's about how to deploy the protocols. So the previous work is what the protocols are. Kim's book talks about how can school leaders get this kind of change going on in their classrooms. So we're really excited to announce that soon.
Sounds great, Kim. Looking forward to that, and maybe you need to come on the roundtable in a future episode. That might be a lot of fun. Well, John, you already spoke to this, but where would you put yourself if 1 is burnout and 5 is on fire? How are you feeling at this point in the year?
Most days I'm 6 because that's how much
Yeah,
I like teaching, but today I'm kind of 3. That's why
sure.
I've got my little coffee here. It's going to keep me going. But anytime I start talking about making classroom practices more effective, I
Yeah.
light up like a Roman candle. So you got me right now.
All right.
You got me.
All right, sounds good. Kim says, I'm coming in from Southern California. Great to have you from that part of the world, Kim. All right, John, let's start right at the beginning. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
here of my friends, colleagues. I mean, strange question to you. I'm sure you've had it 100 times, 1,000 times, but what are the edu protocols?
Yeah, the easiest way to explain it, I got to give big thanks to my friend Josie Wozniak because she reminded us what we actually wrote in the book, which it looks like this. In teaching, we have two main tracks of how we deliver the curriculum to the kids. And these will both sound familiar. One track is the overly scripted box of curriculum, right? And so we're just trying to get through the box. And I'm not trying to say all curriculum is bad by any means, but if you're just teaching straight from the book, it's a little soulless, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just read the chapter, answer the questions, read the chapter, answer the questions. The other main track that people pursue is kind of bumping from random lesson to random lesson. So they feel like they don't necessarily want to do the box curriculum, but who has time to make 7 lessons a day times 5 days a week,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's tricky. So you've got these two main tracks, the box and just stuff I'm Googling, stuff I'm finding, stuff I'm, curating is the way to do it. Oh, Randall's in South Africa. Oh my gosh, that's cool. Hi, Randall. Randall doesn't live in South Africa, so I want to hear about that trip later. Um, so there's your two main tracks. Then where protocols come in, and it's great because we're doing Saturday morning here. Think of this: does a chef have 365 breakfast recipes? He does not because it's
No.
not sustainable. But what a
Right.
chef does have is 8 or 9 key breakfast dishes.
Mm.
You've got your egg scenario, and you can have variations over easy, scrambled, scrambled wet, over medium. You have your different proteins, your ham, your bacon, right? All that stuff. You've
Yeah.
got your casserole style. You've got your continental breakfast thing. You've got your maybe you have a signature breakfast burrito. So the idea of the protocols is think of them as 8 or 10 signature dishes
Mm.
which if strawberries are in season, we're gonna have some strawberries on top of our waffle. So it's your go-tos. If you're not into food, because almost everybody I know is, but if you're not into food, just think exercise. If you're used to running a route, right, and somebody puts you in a new state and you have to pick a new route, your performance changes a little bit because you don't know how to anticipate things like a hill or
Mm-hmm.
you're navigating the turns, so your performance is a little off. So this is I'll bring this all to a head when we are constantly asking our kids to do work that is mind-numbingly boring or a totally different thing every day, it affects
Mm.
their cognitive load. So that's where the brain science comes in. So think of protocols as your go-to dish, and then you can vary it by switching things like I use jack cheese today instead of cheddar, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying this with corn tortillas instead of flour tortillas. Those little variations keep it fresh for the kids. And my favorite part is we always design protocols that teachers can do most of the grading in real time. And so when
Mm.
you go home, you are done. And that
Whoa.
also means, yeah,
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
taught full time last year, 6th grade, full time. I had dramatic score increases in language arts and math, and I spent almost no grading at home. I spent
Mm-hmm.
almost no grading at home because I'm giving kids feedback in real time, and that's what grows athletes, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what grows stock investors is real time feedback. Nobody wants to talk about their stocks 5 days after it happened. They want to talk about it right now. So
Yeah,
let me
for
know if I
sure.
explained it okay, if there's any things to clean up. But that's the idea.
I
Package lessons you can go to, you just change the content. So your prep time's almost nothing. You're grading them in real time. Hopefully that sounds attractive.
It sounds super attractive. Now, a word that I've watched for in your content is routines. Do you ever call them routines, or do you try to stay away from that?
I stay away from routines because when kids hear the word routine, they're out of here.
Yeah.
What we do, I tend to do it like I'm a fan of military thinking, not because of the violence, but because in the military they're willing to refocus until they get the optimum performance. And
Right.
if you ever learn much about the Navy SEALs, they say today's evolution is. And I
Mm,
love that approach, right?
yeah.
Because it's iterative. It
Right.
allows for a sloppier performance at the beginning, but then we're going to evolve. By the way, shout out to Marissa Thompson. She's awesome.
For sure. And seeing Marissa, actually, she will be a huge fan of what you just described in terms of the assessment, trying to keep
Yeah.
it in the classroom in real time where it has the
Mhm.
most impact anyway, and trying
Like
to avoid.
giving a Scantron and then telling me how I did 3 days later is never going to improve my performance. It's always a postmortem. Always.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you said 3 days later. I think for a lot of English teachers, historically, it's been 2 weeks later or whatever, right? So,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
my continuum is between 3 days and infinity because sometimes maybe I may have thrown away one or two assignments because it got so unfresh we didn't need it anymore. Shout out to
Yeah.
Bobby Song and Fresno Unified.
Yeah. Hey, John, do you have a favorite protocol? And for that educator who's watching and maybe they just want to get started somewhere, is there one that you would recommend for that?
Well, this is very unfair of you, Tim. This is like asking Miss Ramo which is her favorite grandkid. That is not appropriate. I'm just kidding. Um, I like all the protocols. The one I would look up if I wanted to start from scratch. So let's say
Hmm.
I'm a teacher and I'm like, this sounds interesting, but John, frankly, I'm not ready to learn a lot of new stuff right now because that's where a lot of people are. I would definitely say the Fast and Curious is a good one, and the Fast and Curious is really just taking your vocabulary that you already do, because that's what we do,
Hmm.
right? You start a new unit, you got vocabulary. You do not make a quiz in Quizlet, Quizzes, Blookit, Gimkit, any of the platforms. You
Hmm.
find a quiz that has your vocabulary. You give the quiz cold turkey, Tim, cold turkey. You just give them the quiz,
Hmm.
and then you let the computer score it, and then you give real time feedback. And you go, okay, the most missed question was this, the second most question was this, the third most
Hmm.
missed question was this. If you eliminate the top five missed questions out of 20, your kids are going to grow 25% in a matter of a few minutes. So that is money.
Wow.
And I see
Hmm.
teachers they're using Kahoot and Quizlet and Quizzes incorrectly. They're giving kids 8 or 9 minutes with no feedback. They're doing it
Hmm.
once a week as a reward. I've flipped all that on its head. It is what we do all the time. Like,
Hmm.
that's where we start. And a shout out to Jacob Carr, who may or may not be working on the new AP level ELA edition of EduProtocols. Um, he gave his kids all of the 116 Latin roots the first day of school, Tim. I'm
Wow.
going to let you think about that. And within 3 weeks, he had the class at 94%, which means well, maybe it was 4 weeks, but quickly, right?
Right.
He had a year's worth of stuff in a few weeks, which bought him a lot more time. And the
Wow.
kids now have the skills all year. But that's not my favorite one. My favorite one is called Random Emoji Power Paragraph. And basically, in that one, we give kids a list of emojis and we say, write a paragraph using each emoji as the main idea of the sentence.
Nice.
And what's beautiful about it is, and you could use any tool, but I like using it with Socrative. And what's really, really powerful is the kids get to see each other's writing in real time. So can you imagine 10-year-old John and Tim in a kind of rap battle trying to outright each other every day? Yeah, there you go. Nice graphic. Um, Imagine us going at it though every day. My
I love it.
emoji paragraph gets a bigger kid's response than yours, and the kids seeing that in real time is Tim, I've literally taken kids from 0% compound sentences to 95% accuracy in under 12 minutes using the random emoji or paragraph technique. So I don't want to dwell on that
Unbelievable.
too long, but That one's my favorite only because every time I do it, it works better than I think, which is
Un-
pretty. When's the last time your lesson plan worked better than you thought it would?
yeah. No, that's unbelievable results. And I like what you say. I like what you write about reps and just the importance of
Mhm.
reps. And teachers, don't be afraid to, start a unit with a quiz and continue using it and
Mhm.
continue working at. I like how you rank the problems or the areas of content that are giving us the most trouble and really focus on
Mhm.
those. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go granular here for a moment. I mentioned Blookit, and my middle school. I know Blookit is that's where it's at right now. That's the number one review platform tool. So how do you app smash between Blookit and the Fast and the Curious? Can you describe that for us?
Well, I'm gonna adjust it a little bit.
Or
So
maybe
the
I've got
fast.
that wrong. Okay.
No, you're okay. You're okay. So
Okay.
here's I'm gonna quote Adam Moeller, who may or may not be working on the new AP ELA edition. I mean
Hello.
history edition of protocols.
Okay.
Um, so basically, what you do is instead of talking for 20 minutes at kids, right? Instead of talking at kids for 20 minutes, what you do is boom, fast and curious. You give them one rep, takes about 3 minutes. You
Mhm.
coach them, takes about one more minute. The smashing comes in like this. Now I bring in a second protocol. So imagine we're doing early man. We a quizzes, Quizlet, Kahoot, Book it doesn't matter on Stone Tools. Now that immediately is followed by a cyber sandwich about guess what, Tim? Stone Tools.
Nice.
And so they read together, they take notes, they build a Venn diagram of the differences between their notes. At that point, I do a Socratic seminar for about 5 minutes, and I make sure that every group is seeing all the right data. They can amend their notes. Then we write a quick paragraph about everything we've learned about stone tools. The paragraph can be response to literature. It could be like report format. It can be, whatever format in the paragraph. And then guess how we finish up, Tim? We hit that quiz is one more time or the book it one more time. And I've seen Adam's class go from 68% to 98% in 25 minutes.
Wow.
And then what's my prep for tomorrow? We're going to take stone tools again. We're going to do a different cyber sandwich from a different scientist, and we're going to hit it again. And you do that for
Wow.
3 or 4 days, and the kids have completely absorbed the content from the memorizing side in Blookit, but they've read three in-depth articles that is a high level, and you're like, boom. Prep time's almost minimal. What's my grading time, Tim?
Zip.
Almost nothing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it looks like there.
Amazing.
And Adam is the man, Abby. That is correct.
Yes, Adam Moeller was one of the very first guests that I ever had on the podcast years ago. I've
Oh
got to have him
wow.
back on the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. He's got
awesome
stories
teacher,
for you.
and the best
He's
and the
got
best
stories.
teacher, the best teacher puns around. Well,
Oh yeah.
you set it up there, John, but to teach better, work less, that's something that I saw come up in one of your other presentations. That's a very enticing mantra right now for
Yeah.
teachers who are getting close to burning out. So it's not taking shortcuts, it's actually teaching better. Can you talk
Right.
more about this spirit? I know we touched on it with feedback.
Well, think about it this way. The profession of teaching has an aesthetic, if that makes sense. Just like car racing has an aesthetic. If you go to a Formula One race, you're going to wear different clothes than if you go to a NASCAR race, right? They have an aesthetic. And the common underlying belief in teaching is that if I want my academic scores to go up, I have to sacrifice more nights and weekends to prepping, to doing projects. So in teaching, we believe that there's an inverse reaction. The more I work, the more the scores will go up.
Right.
And if you've been in a classroom, I'm ready to tell you since I was last year, there's no more. There's no more in my bucket. By the time I'm done just getting through the day, there is no more. And what really made me think about this is there's a movie by the name of hold on, Race to Nowhere. Oh no, Waiting for Superman. Remember Waiting for
Okay.
Superman? And
Yeah.
it's a story about charter schools and how they're raising scores with inner city kids and underprivileged kids. And If you didn't know better, you would think that they were teaching you that if school was 6 days a week, we would get better.
Right.
I can't teach 6 days a week. It'll kill me
Yeah.
because that's my energy level. So I started working on the idea of what if we can get dramatic results and at the same time work less?
Mm.
And Kim's in the chat. She can speak to this. What if I could plan a whole week of awesome hands on activities in under 20 minutes? What if I never had to grade at home? Other than, there's a few, once in a while, you'll have a bunch of essays or a project, once in a while. Um, but the whole idea of protocols is we should expect to see 15 to 20% growth daily. 15
Mm.
to 20% daily. And we've come to expect a bell curve every day. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that sells us short, and I think that sells the kids short. Couple quick examples, and Kim just said plan the perfect week. What we're always working on is the perfect storyline for a week. So what's the storyline for the perfect week? And the storyline is going to
Mm.
include a mix of EduProtocols, which the kids already know and I already know.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm changing is the content. And like I said, I went back to the classroom full time last year. I will be honest, the first 2 or 3 weeks were pretty wild and woolly. I was like, "Wow, I'm not fresh," but by October, I had it really dialed in, and it
Mm.
was just clicking right along. So, the teaching better part is the research from Dr. Sunny Magana shows that if you do your pedagogical planning correctly, you can expect up to 2 years of growth.
Mm.
And because of doing it the protocol's way, at the same exact moment that's happening, your homework correction, your grading time is plummeting.
Mm.
And there's
Mm.
one more bonus to that, if that sounds attractive. It also means because my grades are up to date daily. Let's pretend you're my principal. Hey, John, it's time to get your report cards ready. Okay, mine are ready.
Right.
I
You're
don't I don't
you're
need to take the weekend off to
yeah.
do report cards. They're ready. I can hit print whenever you want, Tim. Send them now. We're ready to because
Oh,
great to date.
yeah. Wow, you are describing the dream there, John. Thank you so much, and I look forward to getting just a little bit deeper into this. Thank you to you as well if you've been watching with us live or on the replay. That means so much to both of us. If you are enjoying this conversation, consider subscribing to the Teachers on Fire channel on YouTube. Your support is definitely appreciated. Well, John, we've already touched on feedback, so I won't go back there, but just to the broader picture of assessment, can you speak to this
Mm,
whole area?
yeah.
We've already included this principle that the more real time it is, the more power and impact it has. What do you see when you look across all of our schools, K to 12? What do you see as the next step? What's the next thing that our schools and districts need to focus on?
Well, ooh, that's a good one, and I love the way you put assessment in all caps. But we really have a two-part problem right here. And again, I work with districts all over the U.S. You guys, Texas, Michigan, Indiana, New York, Buffalo, New York. Shout out to Rick Jetter. Woo woo. Um, First of all, we're not very good at daily planning.
Mm.
Okay. Now, as that gets better, the next question, to quote yourself, Tim, is what does assessment look like?
Mm.
And I want anybody that's watching or listening, I would love to see the chats on this. We have surrendered the idea of assessment to publishers. I want you to think about that phrasing. We have surrendered. So when you put 20 teachers in a room and say, how do you want to do the common formative assessment? My experience is that most every teacher wants to buy a program. Nobody is organically designing assessment. Think about that for a second.
Hmm.
Really think about that. As a profession, we have surrendered common formative assessments to the publishers. And that's my theory or experience because I go to district after district with teachers that have been teaching 10, 15, 20 years. And when you say, what's your common formative assessment? They almost always say, good question, we're working on that.
Mm.
That is too. Imagine a football coach who gets through the season and they say, what's your plan for the playoffs? And they're like, I'm looking that up on Coaches Pay Coaches because I don't have a plan.
Right.
right? When that coach goes to the playoffs, they have a whole passing gear that they hit.
Mm.
So to provide some answers and not just some questions, here's where protocols are really fun, Tim. If you take the 8 parts protocol and your kids do it every day for 3 weeks until you
Mm-hmm.
feel like they've got it at a 90% mastery, you
Mm-hmm.
simply roll into your classroom and you go, it's time for the assessment. Kid reaction is, oh dear. And I say, we're going to do the same thing we did yesterday, except for 2 things. You're going to pick your own picture, and I'm not going to help you. Ready, go. Hi, Gabriel. Gabe's in here. EdTech Bites is in the house. I don't have any food
Hello.
to eat right here. Um, so imagine this: eight parts. We're going to do approximately 18 to 20 standards, Tim. 18 to
Mm-hmm.
20 standards. The kid is going to run it themselves. All they have to do is pick their own funny picture for the day. They're going to execute the work. I can do this in
Right.
math. In math reps, we've done this particular math rep, mathreps.com. Shout out to Lisa and Jeremiah. Um, we do this particular math rep for a week, for 2 weeks. On the third week, I feel like they've got it, and I go like this. Hey, we're going to do the math reps today. Pick your own number. If they all execute all 15 standards correctly, they're going to get a what on the assessment, Tim?
They're gonna crush it,
They're going
hundred
to crush
percent
it.
or whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I
Mm-hmm.
can make it fancier. So let's say that we've been doing Iron Chefs. So for your unseasoned listeners, what's an Iron Chef? An Iron Chef lesson is basically the good old jigsaw that we did in teacher school,
Mm-hmm.
except each kid produces one slide in 10 minutes and then they share it as a group. It's not that complex.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what happens when I get to my end of unit, early man unit in 6th grade? Is the kids do a solo Iron Chef, in which think about how devilish this twist is. They're basically going to do a jigsaw. They're going to do a jigsaw by themselves. So
Right.
I have one slide on stone tools, one slide on domestication, one slide on the agricultural revolution, one slide on agrarians, one slide on where humanity first became a city, and boom, and so the assessment is to do what we do every day
Right.
by themselves. And I'm going to call that mastery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is
And it's
beautiful
that
stuff right
simple.
there.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got all the reps, they've got all the supports, they know what they're doing, and they're demonstrating mastery every single day, all the way up to the official
Hmm.
assessment. No surprises. No surprises.
And
So, John,
my belief is going to be that the vast majority will pass.
yeah.
Maybe everybody won't
Mm-hmm.
pass, but the vast majority is going to pass because it's mastery based. Okay, on to the next thing.
Yeah. No, that is so rich. There is a lot there. Agile thinking. I want to talk about agile thinking because you've written about you and Marlena, we need to reference your co-author here as well, have written about the fifth industrial revolution on the way and these enduring skills, all these delicious, juicy verbs that we want our students to develop mastery in that are timeless, right? And so
Hmm.
I want to zoom in on this one. You've written about the importance of building universal skills like agile thinking. So, what do you mean by agile thinking, and how do you see it playing out in the classroom and outside of the classroom?
Well, to me, the 4 C's exemplify agile thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Creativity, collaboration, communication, and creativity, communication, critical thinking, and collaboration.
Right.
And so we are constantly giving kids open ended scenarios that have a limited scope. So, a
Mm-hmm.
great example of this is thin slides.
Right.
Hey, I need a picture of this new vocabulary term, right? And so, for example, if I'm teaching history, I might have the kids do thin slide on the Battle of Mahan, which is, by the way, where mayonnaise was invented. Long story. Um,
Hello.
so they know nothing about the Battle of Mahan, right? So every kid grabs one picture off of Google Images and they put it in their slides, and
Mm-hmm.
then they make a claim, evidence, or share their reasoning for selecting that picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is choosing and selecting and using claims, evidence, reasoning skills. But we're
Yeah.
going to not do that as a unit, Tim. That's a lifestyle in class. We do an Iron Chef like I just described. that is typically done before the kids get direct instructions. So I'm constantly putting kids in scenarios where there's a low floor and a high ceiling, but there's also limited scope. So they have
Mm.
a play place to play in there and be creative. And like Kim says, durable skills, not soft skills, right? So we don't like the soft skills naming because it sounds, you know, speaking with my language arts hat on, the connotation of soft skills is that they are weak or somehow secondary.
Mm.
But I would ask you this question: don't all of our state standards have speaking and listening skills in the
Mm-hmm.
standards?
Mm-hmm.
But do we assess them? No. Do you know why we don't assess them? Because nobody's come up with a methodology to assess them. So we
Mm-hmm.
are ignoring. Imagine if we did that to math. Sorry, I don't have a way to assess math, so I'm just not going to teach it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So the creativity piece, the collaboration piece, those are really critical to job skills because there are no jobs that are based on Scantron answers.
Yeah.
I think
Mm-hmm.
Todd Whitaker has a saying that says you don't want to get on a plane where the pilot learned to fly by worksheets, right?
Right.
And like Kim said, if they can't talk about it, they certainly can't write about it.
Right.
So creating scenarios where kids are being more creative. Here's another little litmus test question. The aesthetic of teaching is I want everybody to use Times New Roman.
Mm.
But you know what I switched to last year? Ready for this? Choose a font which conveys the tone and the mood.
Mm.
Mm, and then justify it.
Right.
That's a whole other thing. That is a whole other thing. Times New Roman space and a half is for me. Choose the font
Right.
that you think sets the tone and the mood. That's for you. So it's that
Yes.
switch.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
switch. And like Abby says, it's now that the students are doing most of the work and thinking and justifying. It's not me over controlling the scenario
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we tend to
Mm-hmm.
do. We tend to over control. Let the
Oh,
kids
for sure.
do their thing, give them feedback on what did and didn't work, and then this is where the reps come in. Then you hone that. Over time,
Mm-hmm.
you hone that to a fine sheen. If anybody remembers the Karate Kid, you don't wax once and then wax off once. It is an ongoing process of honing the kids' skills. How's that?
Love
Did I
that
get you?
idea
Did
of
I answer
reps.
that?
Oh, you crushed it again, John. But yeah, I love that idea of not only the reps, but you talk about making things quick, keeping things moving.
Hmm.
And I've been
Yeah.
guilty in the past of killing my students with boredom by making them listen to endless Google Slides presentations put on by each
Hmm.
other that go on way too long, and the whole process is way too cumbersome. And I like how the protocols are all about speed and efficiency. And you've got
Yeah.
3 minutes for your thin slide, not 35 minutes, 3 minutes, and you've got 4 seconds to answer, and
Hmm.
it's just boom, it keeps it moving.
Yeah. Well, if you have teachers that are complaining that they have too many ADHD kids, the way you
Mm,
control ADHD kids is you go faster and then you
mm-hmm,
use repetition. So tomorrow they go, oh, I see what you're doing. Because most
mm-hmm.
of your ADHD kids are also your best gamers. They're great at Minecraft, they're great at Call of Duty. So I got myself on their timeline instead of making them get on my timeline. And I'm going to throw
Mm-hmm,
you one more of the new protocols that we need to bring out that I used last year, which is called For the People. And it's a grading
mm-hmm.
protocol. So, Tim, I had finished these big projects with my kids and they came out really cool. And on Friday night at about 2:45, I said to myself, I don't have the energy to grade these all weekend. I'm not going to do this. So I need a strategy where the kids can do most of the grading and I can just make sure that they are doing that well. And so I came up with a new protocol that Kim Bogie named For the People. And so
Mm,
basically what we did was we numbered each project and we put them on the wall and the kids went around in groups of 5 and they gave each other feedback in Google Forms. Okay. They
nice,
gave each
nice.
other feedback in Google Forms. And I put 3 Likert scales and the kids each gave each other review and then
Okay.
comments. And the way they did the comments was watch the phrasing, something I would change, which is not the same as something you did wrong,
Right.
and then something I liked. And
Hmm.
Tim, within 30 minutes, we had like 145 reviews of the
Mm.
projects. There were
Hmm.
only 22 kids in my class. Almost every kid got 10 feedback items. I then just sorted the spreadsheet by number. I emailed or Google Classroomed a screenshot of each kid's feedback, and I said, "You have 20 minutes to improve your projects, and then we're going to wrap them up." And then we wrote a reflection about what we learned in the process, and it took 40 minutes one day, about 20 minutes after class, and then about 20 minutes for the cleanup, and we were out of there instead of 3 days of watching slides, which is
Hmm.
uh, sorry for the framing on Saturday morning, but that is death on wheels. That is ugly.
Oh, and that's just music to my ears because I think, and I love the prayer or the ask, the wish emoji and the star emoji. I say, like, give one star and one wish, and then
Yeah,
kids in that scenario you just described, they're getting so much feedback and so much
yeah. Well, think of the four C's.
information about improving. Yeah.
They're giving. You have tons of collaboration, kid to kid. You have tons of communication, kid to kid. And here's creativity. Ready? Here's the creativity. I look over and Stephanie, one of my kids, is sitting at her desk and she's not doing the reviews. So I put my old time teacher hat on. I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna light her up for not doing the project. And
Right.
before I talk, thank God, I look over her shoulder. This girl has taken pictures of all of the slides, and she's
Wow.
using the picture on her phone so she doesn't have to walk around. And I'm like, you may be the smartest kid in this whole class. And so imagine celebrating her creativity
Right.
as part of a grading activity.
Mm.
And critical thinking skills. She just demonstrated critical thinking. She's like, I don't want to stand up with my Chromebook. That's for old people. I'm going to take a
Right.
picture of 4 projects and then I'm going to go around and sit at my desk. So those are those things, those little incremental things that happen. So I was able to celebrate how smart Stephanie was
Hmm.
instead of tell her she wasn't using the correct process, for
Right.
example. So
Yeah.
those are the things I'm looking for in those durable skills.
I love that example too with that student. And there's a great Steve Jobs quote that's escaping me, but basically it's this idea that laziness can inspire efficiency, and we have to be careful about what we shut down as
Oh yeah.
non-compliance, where really sometimes kids are just finding another way that is perfectly valid when we think about what the actual learning intention is.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I love that quote because almost every protocol has resulted on my side from saying, I don't want to grade this, so I need a better
yeah,
way.
yeah,
I need a
yeah,
better way to teach it because I refuse to spend my Saturday grading essays. So,
yeah,
how can I build a system that gives kids real time feedback instead of wasting my weekend? So, yeah, there's a selfish
yeah.
part to that. And that goes back to the teaching aesthetic. The aesthetic of teaching is, oh no, you guys go drink wine without me. I've got all these papers in my milk crate to grade. That is
Right.
not okay. That is
No.
not okay. We got to quit thinking that is cool.
Yeah.
Being burned out is not cool.
Yeah, that's a mic drop right there. Well, John, you've been so generous with your time. We are starting to wrap up, and I do want to come back to the EduProtocols books and talk about the other books that you mentioned that are coming out. But first of all, tell us one voice that is inspiring you right now. Who are you reading or listening to that is lighting your fire for learning?
Ooh, okay, let me process for a second right there. Probably the person that is really honing my skills right now is it's a duet of Dr. Sunny Magana, who wrote Disruptive Classroom Technology. And it's a really thin book. It's maybe 120 pages. You can read it in a weekend. But he really takes takes another look at the fact that classroom technology has not worked over the last 50 years.
Hmm.
And so he pairs that up with pedagogy. And I got to meet him at ISTE a couple of years ago, and it was literally like the old Reese's commercial where you got your peanut butter on my chocolate, but it was you got your protocol on my framework. and
Yeah.
and he's really made my thinking a lot more technical about this. Like I had an intuitive side because I'd done it for 20 years, but he made my thinking much more pointed about the fact that when we do the old protocol with the old aesthetic with the new ed tech, we can expect a learning loss.
Hmm.
And then my second person that I bumped into, I've not read the book. I'm just going to ask you, Tim, have you ever heard of Rosenshine's Principles of Education?
I've heard it around. I can't say I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, not many people in the US are, and it's completely mind blowing. Because what Rosenshine did was came up with 10 principles to teaching that are like not debatable. And
Mm.
my favorite one is guaranteed success. So Rosenshine's research from 1982 says that you should not proceed on to the next thing until you have 80% accuracy in the
Wow.
class. How
Wow.
many of us are violating that tenet? A lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's a belief structure that, well, you aren't good at the worksheets, Tim, so we have to move on because you're not going to be good at the worksheets, which is a real death spiral
Yep.
for the growth in that classroom.
Yep.
So there's a lot of Rosenshine going on in the protocols. Um, Repetition, small steps, scaffolding, advanced organizers, daily and weekly review with things like random emoji and thin slides. So people can quickly review. And the problem
Mm-hmm.
is when most teachers go to review, they spend a whole day or 2 days on review.
Right.
And you don't have to spend a whole class period on review with tools like and EduProtocols like Reason Up. Hi, Jeffrey Swartz. Jeffrey's down in Georgia. He's a cool cat.
Hey, Jeffrey, welcome to the show. Yeah, I love what you said somewhere else, and someone asked you about, can I use paper for this instead of slides? And your answer was basically, well, sure, you could. And in some cases, it works fine. It can be faster. But in other cases, the technology amplifies the creativity and it enables faster sharing and feedback, right? So it's not about the
Yeah,
tech for tech's sake. It's about the
right.
creativity and all the four C's that go with it sometimes.
Yeah, let me go technical with that. Almost everybody has seen a KWL activity, right?
Right.
What do you know? What do you want to know? What do you learn? But when you put, haha, yay! I love happier teacher. Um, if you put a circle of fourth graders on your carpet and say, "What do you guys want to know about volcanoes?" but you only let them use their brain, you're going to get a limited feedback.
Hmm.
But if you say to them, "Open your Chromebooks, Google the term types of volcanoes, take the picture that's the most interesting to you, and put it into these slides, or this Nearpod, or this Pear Deck, and be prepared to tell me why you claim to know about that one, some evidence you have for the favorite one, or your reasoning for picking the picture you did." I believe it's Alice Keeler said this: teach like the internet exists. So just taking the KWL and saying to the kids, use Google Images to generate a question or hypothesis completely changes where you are on Bloom's. Because
Hmm.
in general, my experience is if I ask a bunch of fourth graders what they want to know about volcanoes, they will ask me why they blow up. And that will be pretty much the end of the conversation. But when you
Right.
allow them to use the internet to explore and think about it and do a little search about a term, you have a very different response. So that's
Hmm.
kind of like the nutshell version. There's fancier versions of that. But allowing kids to use the internet to form their thinking instead of them depending on me to tell them everything they need to know is a magnificent change.
Huge upgrade. Huge upgrade. Well, thank you so much, John. Listen, I am still in the early stages. I've come across protocols. I'm warming up to them, and I'm really excited, honestly, really excited to get deeper into your books and start to implement these in my practice. I'm thinking about thin slides in my math classroom. I'm thinking my brain's exploding, honestly, with possibilities. You've put out these two books with your co author, the EduProtocol Field Guide Book 1 and Book 2. Now, the question is, tell us what else is coming. You dropped a few other titles here in this conversation, so give us a bit of a sense as we sign off about what
Yeah.
other things you are working on, what's coming down the pipe.
So quick rundown, Kim Bogey, the manuscript is complete. We're working on graphics. Kim's version is going to be deploying the edge protocols. So
Okay,
Kim has built all of the frameworks for if you're a principal or a TOSA, how do you get teachers to do these things?
right.
She's got a couple of new protocols in there. She shows all the alignments to reading and math standards, Tim.
Wow.
So if you say, I need to do this, these are the protocols. If I
Yeah,
need to teach this, these are the protocols to use.
nice.
There's book three, Math Reps, it's the math edition.
Yeah.
So there's that one that's not on the list. Coming right behind Kim is going to be Adam Moeller and Dr. Scott Petrie that are writing history-centric protocols at the AP level. So they're super fancy and
Hmm.
super sophisticated. And then after that, we have Jacob Carr, who is the state Bold winner, the state Bold Teacher of the Year 2 years ago. He's writing the AP edition of Language Arts is coming. And then right now, starting Monday, we have Edge Protocols Worldwide coming out, which I would love it if you wanted to come on and co-host with me one morning when we
That'd be
start
fun.
that up, Tim. Maybe we could do a simulcast.
That'd be great.
And we've got teachers, Tim, from at least 6 countries who are going to be sharing Edge protocols on a Saturday morning. It's 110% free,
Wow.
and we got people from all over the place sharing. I'll be in India presenting. We've got Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Switzerland, and we've got more coming. That's going to be February 5th, 2020. Oh my gosh, Kim's like doing our titles for us. That's awesome.
She's keeping up here. Thanks, Kim.
And then later this spring, we have another one coming called the Catalina Lesson Design Mixer. It's
Is
based on
that
Step
off San
Brothers.
Diego or?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
off the coast of Long Beach. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Catalina Lesson Design Mixer, but luckily it's in the Zoom, so
Okay.
everybody can attend, and that's going to be really powerful as well.
Well, it's just simply some awesome stuff, John, that you and the team are putting out. And again, I'm just so thankful for, I was around in Twitter, I was in the PLN for a year or two, and you come across this word and you think, well, what in the world is that? And you sort of move on. And finally, I'm a slow learner. It's slowly penetrating my consciousness. And I'm realizing, wow, if I can turn every one of my students into an active, engaged learner instead of a spectator and do it without driving myself crazy in the process, this is something I need to take a closer look at. So thank you so much,
Te-
John. Yeah,
Teach better, work less. That's the game right there.
that is the game. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our live audience. Final words here from Kim. Yes, the Catalina Lesson Design Mixer. I think you said that was coming up in
So much room
February.
for activities. Yes, literally so much room for activities.
And Abby's saying, I can't wait for Adam and Scott's book. Abby, it was so
It's
good to see you
spectacular.
here. Adam Moeller, another fellow we were talking off air, is someone that you've got to follow if you are in that history classroom for sure. Just a really fun, creative thinker. Thank you so much, John. I know this wasn't an easy time for you today, but I really appreciate your generosity, and it means a ton. Thank you so much for all that you do.
You're welcome. And listen, thank you. I started at a 3 and now I'm at a 7. So you got my Saturday kick-started. And there's only 6 on the scale, and I'm off the charts.
You're off
One
the
last
charts.
thing that Kim mentioned in the chat: if you're listening and you want to delve deeper, there's a Facebook group called Empowered Ed Venture. It's a little play on words. Lots going on in there. Like teachers will drop in and say, "I got this lesson going on Monday," and people like Kim and I are like feeding people free lesson plans. Boom. And thanks for joining, Helen.
Helen, so good to see you. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, John. Enjoy the rest of your coffee, maybe a nap as well in the process. Have a great weekend, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.